In this fast-paced, short attention span world that we've come to live in, world of 30-second YouTube clips, news flash media reporting, those things have replaced lengthy, highly regarded, in-depth speeches. These things, amongst others, have led me to believe that in the modern era, no single public speech should ever be longer than 1 hour. Now, I believe this for two reasons. The volume and accessibility of information today is greater than it ever has been in the past, and people just simply don't have the time to listen to hour-long speeches. Secondly, the attention span of the population is shorter today in the modern era than it ever has been in the past. So when I say the volume and accessibility to new information has changed and people don't have the time, I should clarify something. I don't mean that there are fewer hours in the day. It's just that, today compared to 50 or 100 years ago, it's more that the amount of available information is such that there simply isn't the time to absorb all of it for any single source for spending an hour on one particular topic. So let's go back a little bit. 100 years ago, if someone asked a friend or a colleague, have you read the latest book, or did you listen to the speech by so-and-so politician, or have you heard something, maybe even on the wireless? If the answer to that was yes, that could be considered being up to date on current affairs. But in 2015, information is available at the touch of a button. Entire libraries of books available on smartphones. 900 plus TV channels, cable news, loads of websites available giving us information all the time. The sheer quantity of that information and the speed at which it's required to be absorbed, the number of speeches that need to be listened to, have changed what it means to be up to date on current affairs. So I don't believe people have the time to simply absorb that information. Another reason that people have less time to spend on long speeches is the social pressure to be aware of the latest news, and in some cases having watched the latest funny video on YouTube. Social dynamics have changed, largely through social media, being influenced by a form of peer pressure, really, in that the general population is driven to be aware of the latest things that are going on. Did you see the TV show last night? It's been a funny film of this. And did you hear the clips from the president's speech? And people need to be tuned into multiple sources to be aware of those current affairs. With so many sources of information, so many speeches available, the nature of current affairs has changed. It's just not possible to spend hours at a time listening to these sources to be up to date. So I don't think we do have enough time to fill with hour-long speeches these days. So assuming that people did have the time to listen to an hour-long speech in this modern era, which I don't believe that they do, something else has changed in the last 50 years, or certainly changed from 100 years ago. We don't have the attention span. The attention span of the population is shorter in the modern era than it has been in the past. Shorter to the point that long speeches simply aren't an option to maintain the audience's focus and attention. Now, the media is configured to drive high-intensity, short-burst information with lots of flashing on the screen and so on. Some people might argue that the media has conditioned us in the population to need that short information. I disagree. I think the population has driven that. The reason being is people will, they want value for money. They'll only pay for something that they want. And we pay for our TV, for the most part, a few public networks, but mostly we pay for the television that we watch. If we wanted hour-long, uninterrupted, commercial-free speeches, that's what we'd get. So I believe the population is driving that change within the media. Another thing that really shows that our attention span is shorter is the changing nature of content on the internet over the past 10 years or so. YouTube used to have long videos. Now we watch Vines, and they're 20 seconds long. You have a 30-second fail blog clip to watch. Another example is Twitter, an entire service based on condensing information into 140 characters. There's no way to convince people you can't put an hour-long speech in 140 characters, simply not plausible. And Kim Kardashian has a bajillion followers and she only tweets 140 characters. So long speeches don't have a place in the modern media interactions. So really, to conclude, in the past 100 years, maybe in the past 20 years, the volume of information and the accessibility to it has increased such that we don't have the time to spend on sequential hour-long speeches to get our current affairs. And the population has driven a change towards shorter, more easily digestible, varied content. I'd leave you with this as a final thought. If hour-long speeches were appropriate in the modern era, why is it that TED Talks, some highly regarded source of usually well-delivered speeches, why are they only 20 minutes long?